The Sharavati River Valley is one of the lushest places in India, with dense evergreen forests and hidden forested wetlands. Walking through the forest to reach the hidden Myristica swamps reminded me of taking a journey back through geological time. But one thing is certain: swamps and the larger monsoon forest landscape are governed by the hydrological cycle. Water sustains these ecosystems, and a lack of water can prove deadly to the trees and wildlife that have adapted to life in these inundated forests. As a part of my research, I am looking at water quality and testing various parameters that might clue us into the role that swamps play in maintaining water quality downstream. In the monsoon, water flows through the larger watershed, entering swamps at a higher velocity. But the tangled roots of swamp obligate trees slow this flow, allowing for sediment and pollutants to settle and remain inside the swamp. Cleaner water flows downstream, providing villages with potable water for household use and irrigation purposes. There are 5 water quality tests that I conducted in the swamps of Uttar Kannada. I began by setting up the dissolved oxygen probe to better understand how much available oxygen is in the water. This probe is typically set up in the slow flow regions where tree roots are present. In particular, rely on dissolved oxygen, which is the amount of oxygen dissolved in the water in order to survive. So here we have fishes, we have frogs, we have reptiles like snakes and skinks, and then a lot of macroinvertebrates, all of which rely upon dissolved oxygen in order to survive. So oxygen levels, if they're too low, then that can mean that the system is not healthy and perhaps aquatic life is under threat. And if oxygen levels are high, then that means that we've got good stream flow, good aeration, and overall it's a healthy stream. So it's a pretty important parameter as far as aquatic systems go. Right now my dissolved oxygen is 8.12 milligrams per liter, that's the unit. Let's see if it goes up or down. So we typically wait until the reading stabilizes on the probe, and that's how we know that that's our final value. The fish are coming and looking at the probe, trying to figure out what's going on. So the values now drop to 8.06 milligrams per liter, 8.05, 4, 3, 2, oh, it's going down, 1, 8 now. While the reading is going, I can just leave it to stabilize and bring out the next equipment, which is nitrates and phosphates. Nitrates and phosphates are important components of fertilizers, and many times swamps fall just downstream of arecanut plantations and paddy fields. We interviewed multiple farmers about their fertilizer inputs and the seasonality of adding fertilizer to their crops, and found that some farmers applied fertilizer in the dry season to help growth and then reapplied fertilizers in the post-monsoon period. Given that flows are still high post-monsoon, I wondered if fertilizers were being washed into the swamps and altering the water quality. But why does this matter? Well, many amphibians and odonids that reside in swamps are highly sensitive to even the slightest changes in water quality. An influx of nitrates and phosphates may interfere with the breeding behavior of post-monsoon breeders, such as the dancing frog. And in high flow scenarios, water holding high nitrates and phosphates may wash out of the swamps downstream instead of pooling inside swamps, leading to higher levels of these compounds in the household water supply of downstream communities. So we're here in Chare, which is one of the swamps that I'm testing water quality in. And water quality parameters that we're testing include dissolved oxygen, EC, pH, nitrates and phosphates. So the reason we test water quality in swamps is because swamps, like most other wetlands, actually slow the flow of running water. And what that means is that here the water sort of stagnates and the roots of the trees, the swamp trees, actually pull sediment and hold in chemical waste and let the cleaner water flow out. So when we're testing water quality, we try to do it in 3 points. Just upstream, in the center of the swamp, and just downstream, which is where I am right now in Chare. So in some swamps, what we see is that upstream there's areca nut plantations, which means that we might have an inflow of pesticides or fertilizers entering the swamp. So it's really important to test just upstream. But if we test downstream, we can also understand if the swamp is actually working the way it should and holding in and retaining those chemicals, which means that there's cleaner water going downstream, which helps with downstream forest health and the health of households who are drinking the water from these swamps. So in Chare, which there's a situation which we see in a lot of other swamps, which is that people take piped water out of here and they use it to irrigate their crops, but also for household use. So it's really important to know what the quality of the water is that's in these swamps, so we can understand how it might affect the people downstream. We don't just test in the dry season like now, we'll test it again in the monsoon and post monsoon to understand how it changes across the year and how perhaps during certain times of the year people might put fertilizers while other times they don't, and how these play a role in influencing water quality.
Myristica swamps play an important role in the watershed by purifying water and retaining sediment and nutrients in their inundated soils and plant roots. But if swamps continue to disappear, what will become of this valuable ecosystem service that they provide?